Who's doing the invocation? Oh, okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and get started with tonight's meeting. The invocation will be by Paul Meissen, Capital Commission. Is that correct? Okay, thank you for coming tonight, sir. And then Mike Klinghammer will lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance. Could everybody stand, please?
Let's pray. Oh Lord, we give much thanks tonight for your goodness and for your grace. Thank you for a beautiful day with our weather. We thank you also for the many gifts that you give us and the freedoms we have in this country. I thank you, Father, also for these men who are serving our great county. Pray also and give you thanks for the others who are serving in many different capacities. We also give thanks, Father, for those who are concerned about the things here in St. Charles County. And we pray that everyone who is here tonight, that the discussion will be honest, will be with all humility, and be in a way that honors you and is respectful to one another. We give you thanks, Father, for a great opportunity to be able to look out for the good and the needs of those that we serve. We pray, Father, for these things in your Son's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Joe Cronin.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Brazel.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Hollander.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Klinghammer.
Here.
Councilmember John White.
Here.
Okay, now we'll move on to public comments. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes, and we allow 3 speakers per topic, 3 pro and 3 con. And you can talk about anything, county business or anything you want to talk about. Could I have our first speaker? Is that you, Steve?
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the time to speak tonight. My name's Steve Bleckley. I'm here to speak on behalf of many, many businesses in the downtown O'Fallon area. My family and I have owned the O'Fallon Plaza since 1976. My father's been involved with the property since the early 1960s. Our plaza has 30 businesses. I'm also down here representing Red Carpet Square and quite a few other businesses in the downtown area. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of the proposed interchange improvements for I-70 and Main Street in O'Fallon. However, I am very concerned about recent activities within the O'Fallon City Hall that could have serious negative effects on this project. Recently, the City of O'Fallon began planning a study for the Highway K, Main Street, and Highway M corridors. What came out of these meetings is that City of O'Fallon is seriously considering restricting the traffic flow 1/4 mile north of the I-70 Main Street interchange at Pittman. I know, it sounds ridiculous, but this is O'Fallon. There's a long history of aggressive development projects that have failed, from the Main Street Ventures project in 2003 to the more recently the failed specially zoned CID project called O'Fallon Station at our former O'Fallon Lumberyard site, and then all the way back to the detrimental widening of Main Street to businesses back in 1991, where everything's just totally mishandled. That's the much abbreviated version of the history. As you guys know, municipalities can do things that seem silly, like develop the floodplain or try to shut down 5th Street, as St. Charles did a couple years ago. It would not be wise for the county to approve $6.25 million for the Interstate 70 Main Street project if there's a possibility that the City of O'Fallon is going to bottleneck all the effort to improve traffic flow just 1/4 mile up the street. Currently, there are not any alternative routes around or through the downtown O'Fallon area. This is also very important for the residents of the St. Paul area and county residents north of O'Fallon. The Sondern Street extension, for example, the Woodlawn Street extension, for example, is proposed in the future for those to be connected thereby providing sort of a outer loop, if you will, for the downtown area for people to get through and around north and south. Very good connectivity once that is done. That common sense would dictate that. We depend on you guys as the elected county officials to be good stewards of the tax dollars. I urge you to support Mr. Cronin's amendment. It puts reasonable protections on the county tax dollars. It allows a reasonable time frame for the connectivity of streets north and south and over Highway 70. After that, the changes to Main Street could be revisited. But most importantly, Councilman Cronin's amendment does allow future development on Main Street. All the city has to do is ask to get a vote of the people for approval. Down the road we go with development. And I just want to thank you for your time, and please consider strongly before you approve this $6.2 million that may just be a waste of money. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Is there anybody who wants to speak on Bill 4213? Any other speakers? Yes, sir?
Good evening. My name is Bob Howard. I'm a business owner in the O'Fallon area. Bill 4313. I'm speaking in favor of it. The homes, I own O'Fallon Electronics. It's been there for 28 years. We service in-home service in a lot of the residents. The downtown deterioration. When I flush my toilet, I don't know if it's going to flush, or if I turn my water on, what kind of water pressure I'm going to have. Or when I leave the parking lot, if I'm going to run into ruts or the water development being dug up. I would just ask the council again, Mr. Cronin's proposal, that time frame and keeping it open to development as it comes, what's needed. That cautionary advice is all I wanted to contribute. There's a lot of residents and their basements are flooded. The deterioration of the infrastructure of the city needs to be thought of. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there other speakers on Bill 4213? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, Council, Chief Executive, and staff, I'm Don Dietrich, and I'm the president of the O'Fallon Downtown Neighborhood Association. I'm also here in favor of Bill 4213, but with the amendments as proposed by Councilman Cronin. I have been involved to a certain extent with some planning and preliminary planning for some improvements to Main Street of O'Fallon. And I've been in my organization for about 10 years, very familiar with the workings of the city of O'Fallon. I think that what they started to be a streetscape improvement project, bringing us flowers and benches and trash cans and signage, some improvements with sidewalks, which are all necessary. We think that maybe that's morphing into a bigger project. When I sat down with the focus groups that were conducting the study of the area, they talked about narrowing Main Street down to 3 lanes in downtown O'Fallon. That's not going to work. Main Street is also Highway M, and the traffic flow is significant. I know that it took a lot of sacrifices years ago from the businessmen downtown in donating property and allowing some of their property to be purchased to widen Main Street to what it is today. I think those folks were prudent back then, and they saw the need for transportation to flow down Highway M. We probably need it now more than ever with all the connectors that are coming up. Highway 79 is seeing more and more traffic all the time. I'm on Highway M, Main Street, Highway K all the time myself. It's basically become our version of Manchester Road. It doesn't make any sense at all to narrow that road down. And I would consider this somewhat of a preemptive strike by the citizens of O'Fallon, because we have been led astray before on some projects that we were not really let in on the total extent of what that project was. We successfully fought some of those projects in the past, but we're now a force for the good in the community. We don't want to disrupt development, natural development, or natural business growth in the downtown area, but we have to keep traffic flowing as well. I think Councilman Cronin's amendment makes a lot of sense. Right now, as Mr. Bleckley pointed out, we do not have good circulation around downtown O'Fallon. Main Street is the main artery through our area. And until and unless we get other avenues, such as building up Woodlawn and Sondern, to become effective arteries around our downtown, it simply makes no sense. I think that there's prudence in Mr. Cronin's approach as well, because it frees the issue back up in 10 years. That gives us 10 years to get these arterial roads in good shape. But I do thank you all for your time and for your consideration.
Thank you, Don. Are there other questions or comments on Bill 4213? Okay, seeing none, is there any other public comments? Anybody else like to say anything else? Okay, that concludes public comments. Moving on to your report from the county executive.
Mr. Chairman, I'll have some comments when we get to 4213, but other than that, I have no report.
Okay, thank you. Consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda? I'd like to remove the finance 2015 property and casualty insurance program.
Second.
Any other items? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, on the 2015 property casualty insurance program, is a guy here?
Mr. Noonan.
Oh, what's it?
You want Bob Schnurr or Ed Noonan?
Ed Noonan.
The insurance guy, is he here?
That's Ed Noonan.
Ed Noonan.
Who's that? I'm sorry.
Ed Noonan.
Ed? Oh, I'm sorry, Ed, I should
He
know
is in
that.
fact here. It's okay, he's only worked for us for most of
35
his
years.
life.
I changed my name.
I know, but doggone it.
You guys don't know him because he's never been in trouble.
Keep it that way, too.
At least not till tonight.
Ed, it's, I just got a couple questions. On, you insure the county over the overall, just if there's a problem or an accident or whatever, the insurance company, you're in charge of running our insurance program.
Right.
So if we have any scenarios where on roads, do we ever insure, or we have the capabilities of insuring outside the county on any kind of roads?
No.
It stays
The
within.
policy is strictly within the geographic limits of the
It's
county.
Strictly within the county? Is that a state law, or what is that?
It's the insurance policy, the way the insurance policy is written.
Okay. So, okay, that's, I think that was my main question. I was gonna actually call you today, but I just need to know a little bit more about that. So the county, the insurance company, the insurer will not go outside their county. It's an administrative decision by the insurance company?
By the way the policy is written, yes.
But
And secondly, if you go outside well, you could go outside the geographic limits, I guess you could say, but you'd have to own the piece of whatever it was, have an insurable interest in it before they would insure it.
Who would have to own it?
The county.
The county would? Okay, I see. Okay, that's it, really? Any other questions?
Why would we want to?
Oh, it's nothing. No, it's.
Sorry.
No, it's that litigation stuff. I don't want to get into it, but, okay, that's all. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, moving on to bills for final passage, right? Yep, okay.
Bill number 4209, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the county of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A agricultural district, 5-acre minimum lot size, to RR single-family residential district, 3-acre minimum lot size, as per application RZ 15-000002.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4209? Seeing none?
An ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A agricultural district 5-acre minimum lot size to RR single family residential district 3-acre minimum lot size as per application RZ 15-000002. Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Bill 4209 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4210.
Bill number 4210, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 15-000001 for a lawn care service to Christopher Hefner and H&K Services LLC.
Mike, you have a motion to amend the substitute bill?
Yeah, I make a motion to amend Bill number 4210 with substitute Bill 4210.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Go on. Any questions or comments on Bill 4210, substitute bill? Okay, seeing none.
Substitute Bill number 4210, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 15-000001 for a lawn care service to Christopher Hefner and H&K Services LLC. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Bill 4210 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4211.
Bill number 4211, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute on-system bridge program agreement, federal project BRM 5414626, with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for allocation of funds for replacement of bridge over unnamed tributary to McCoy Creek on North Point Prairie Road.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4211? Seeing none.
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute on-system bridge program agreement, federal project BRM 5414626, with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for allocation of funds for replacement of bridge over unnamed tributary to McCoy Creek on North Point Prairie Road. Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Bill 4211 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4212.
Bill number 4212, an ordinance approving an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the City of St. Peters for the Willett Road Bridge.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4212? Seeing none.
An ordinance approving an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the City of St. Peters for the Willett Road Bridge. Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Bill 4212 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4213.
Bill number 4213, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the City of O'Fallon to improve traffic flow and reduce congestion at the interchange of I-70 and Missouri Route MK in an amount not to exceed $6,250,000.
Okay, comments. I know Mr. Cronin, go ahead.
I have some things I'd like to
Go
show
ahead.
the council, okay?
So Jack didn't get it in there for you, huh?
We'll try it this way.
The old-fashioned way.
Basically, I'm going to give you a little history lesson, and I'm going to show my age at the same time. But this is the actual 1991 flyer from a good old boy in O'Fallon named Russell Emge, who took it upon himself to go out to O'Fallon to get progress in the roads. Russell's gone now, but everybody in O'Fallon knew him and loved him. And long and short, in 1991, the O'Fallon voters approved $5.5 million bond issue to pay to widen Main Street to 4 lanes. The project was supposed to take 1 summer. The project turned into a year. The project wasn't supposed to close Main Street. The project closed Main Street for a year. A lot of businesses suffered. A lot of them went out from under and are gone now. But that's the history of the story and how it got to be 4 lanes like it is now. Things tend to happen in O'Fallon about every 12 years. So about 12 years down the road past that project, this came out. And this was a downtown plan that basically took over 100 residential houses from folks that lived there their entire lives and most all the downtown businesses. And in that plan, you'll see Main Street of O'Fallon right through the center with roundabouts and flowers and landscaping and very narrow passageways compared to the road it is now. At the same time they came out with this plan, business owners in O'Fallon and landowners in O'Fallon received a letter from the city stating that we realize that this plan calls for businesses and residents to be relocated.
Joe,
some will find new homes,
Can
some
you
won't.
spin it, so
I'm sorry.
just stand on the other, stand in front of it.
Okay, sorry about that. Basically, we realize the plan calls for businesses and residents to relocate it. Some will find new homes. No matter which course of action, the city is committed to fair, respectable, equitable treatment. Essentially, they were going to use eminent domain to take properties from businesses and land and residents down there, give it to an out-of-town developer. It was pretty much a done deal, but O'Fallon residents pretty much revolted, and it didn't happen. Because of stuff like this, O'Fallon residents have been very, very leery of future city developments. I went to all the focus meetings with their latest developer and spoke with them. And what initially became a beautification program morphed into something a little bit bigger. And never was really concerned about it too much until this article hit the Post-Dispatch last Sunday. And in that article, it talks about a new mix of Highway K, traffic, bikers, runners, walkers, but they also go forward to talk up into North O'Fallon and Highway M. The traffic that you see there, you have that same, almost that same level of traffic in downtown O'Fallon on a Friday, condensed down to about 2 lanes, between 2 and 3 lanes in each direction. At that time, I became a bit alarmed, and I started getting calls from residents. I did support this project from the get-go, and I worked with County Transportation Director to talk to residents and businesses along the Outer Road project, and we worked through a lot of details, and I've supported the Outer Road project from day one. What I don't support is shutting down Main Street to 2 lanes of traffic. We had that before. We know what it was like. It would be horrible and devastating to small businesses in that area. So I came up with an amendment that we're proposing, and I want to make it clear a couple other things. This is not really a $6.2 million project. That's the first phase of it. It's a $12 million project, okay? And that $12 million, O'Fallon's putting 1.2 in. The rest of it's coming from outside of O'Fallon. But the other thing that I think is pretty telling in the project is that when I read the final details and I went and talked to O'Fallon council members that represent O'Fallon, every O'Fallon council member north of 70 voted against this whole entire project. Not necessarily because they didn't like the improvements to Interstate 70 interchange, but because I think that they knew the ultimate project was going to enable O'Fallon to shut the roadway down to 2 lanes. I do have comments from two council members to the fact that this 2-lane proposal has been around for a while. And this particular amendment just simply does this. It says if O'Fallon wants to shut that down to 2 lanes, they get the approval of wards 1 and 5 in O'Fallon, which are the residents north of the highway. They still have the ability to shut it down to 2 lanes, but they won't do it without voter approval. My thinking is since the voters voted for and paid for the widening of Main Street in 1991, those same voters ought to be allowed to vote on whether they want to narrow it down and face increased congestion, that will happen if it's narrowed down. So the amendment, quite simply, if you want the actual amendment language, is this. And this may be a little hard to read, but the parties to this contract further agree and understand, and the parties being O'Fallon and St. Charles County, that during 10 years following the effective date of this contract, there shall be no reduction or narrowing of motor vehicle lanes or any other traffic flow restrictions on Main Street in the municipality from Interstate 70 north of State Highway P without the approval of municipality's voters north of Interstate 70, which is currently wards 1 and 5. In other words, you're enabling the folks in downtown O'Fallon to choose their own destiny by supporting this amendment. O'Fallon controls that section of road. MoDOT doesn't. St. Charles County doesn't. From Interstate 70 to Highway P, it's completely under O'Fallon control. Some people will say, well, they cannot do anything without MoDOT money or St. Charles County money. It takes a lot of money. It took $5 million to widen that road, okay? It takes a lot less to block off 2 lanes and put pedestrian bike paths and all this complete street stuff that we're hearing about that they're trying in some areas of St. Louis County. That's my concern. That's the concern of what you're hearing from the residents. That's what concerns you're hearing from the businesses. I'm not trying to tell O'Fallon what to do. I'm saying O'Fallon should let the voters decide what they want to do downtown.
All right, Joe, thanks. Why don't you sit up here, and then we'll have some conversation. Any questions from the council right now?
Yeah.
Hold on, Steve. Yeah, Mike.
I guess I've got a couple of them, and Joe, it's, I don't want to be combative, I just want to make sure that I understand what you're asking us to do. So that is our first ground, you know.
Sure.
It does sound like we're telling O'Fallon, the city of O'Fallon, you know, what to do with their road. You just said that it's theirs, and to do with it, you know, the O'Fallon board gets to make the decision what to do with that. So why are you asking us to limit what O'Fallon Municipal Board should do with their road?
Because it makes absolutely no sense to spend $12 million of taxpayers' money to widen a street and then choke it down 2 blocks north. And what we're telling O'Fallon, what we're trying to say to O'Fallon is no different.
Isn't that O'Fallon's right? Isn't it the municipal board, it's their city council's right to make that decision?
Well, we may have a difference there, because when Mr. Ellman told Mayor Faith that the county wouldn't support South River Road 5th Street project, we reduced in traffic, that was the same concern. And I can read that quote exactly if you'd like it. The concern was quite simply that it makes no sense. In the letter to Ms. Faith, it said it makes no sense to restrict traffic flow in St. Charles and then spend the money elsewhere. The exact word is, this is Steve's words to Sally. I think it's a waste to spend this much money on a stretch of street and not improve the ability of the street to carry traffic loads today and in the future. What I'm saying is this: it makes no sense for us to spend $12 million in that project, okay, and then allow O'Fallon to restrict the traffic flow later.
I guess I'm going to be ultra sensitive to county telling the cities what to do with the road that they have control over. Without hearing from their board why they thought it was a good idea to go forward with this, you know, lane restrictions or going from down to a lane going each direction, I'm a little hesitant to take our will or the power that the county has to force them to do something. And I want to make sure that I understand it. You very well could be absolutely 100% correct, and it is a dumb idea to restrict it, but I got to believe that the municipal board there had some reason why they think that it's a good idea. And that's the point that I'm trying to get at, is why, you know, from their perspective, why do they think it's a good idea?
Okay, we'll just understand that 4 council members that represent this area of O'Fallon voted against it. But I think one of them's words was very good. He said, Mr. Cronin, I'm also concerned about the whole project. My residents don't want one-way outer roads or the reduction of lanes on Main Street. They do want the intersection at I-70 improved, bicycle lanes added, and sidewalks improved. I have a hard time supporting the reduction to 2 lanes on Main. I don't think it works. This is from an O'Fallon councilman represent the area. I have another email from an O'Fallon councilman to the city administrator of O'Fallon, and he asks, quite frankly, he says, do we have anything about Main Street yet? As we know, we cannot cut traffic out of downtown until we have other routes to use. Let me know what we're doing, okay? I think there's a communication issue in O'Fallon, okay? But I think the council members that voted against this didn't vote against it because of the outer road project or the improvements to Main Street. Or improvements to the outer roads. They voted against it because they realized the ultimate goal was to put Main Street back to 2 lanes. We're not telling them what to do with this amendment. We're telling them if they want to reduce that traffic flow down and choke down downtown O'Fallon, they need to go to their voters, okay? And I think that's a reasonable restriction to place on a $12 million project.
Let's talk about that just for a minute also, again, so that I understand what, I've been, you know, involved in city government for 20-some odd years, and in that time frame, we never had an election where it was only for certain wards. It wasn't a citywide vote. So first question is, can you do that? Is it legal to do that? And did I hear you correctly that just those 2 wards voted this last time when they widened it? Was that a O'Fallon citywide vote, or was it only
That was
for
a
those 2?
citywide vote, but back in 91, the majority of O'Fallon was north of 70. And as far as the legality of this, I did have Harold prepare this. This is not something I did on my own, okay?
Okay. So the citywide vote wanted to open it up to 4 lanes, but now we want to ask just 2 wards to narrow, to prevent it from being narrowed back down.
And I will tell you, quite frankly, the reasoning behind that. This is a classic north-south split, okay? O'Fallon is divided by I-70 like the Mason-Dixon line divided the United States in the Civil War. It's a totally different mindset, Mike. You have the old schoolers that grew up in O'Fallon.
And that's why I'm asking these questions. I'm not familiar with the nuances.
Right. You have the old-time businesses and old-time residents, like some we spoke tonight, okay? And then in the new side, you have a lot of out-of-town folks that just moved in the area. A lot of the folks on the south side don't have what I call skin in the game. They don't have their homes in the north side. They don't have their businesses in the north side, okay? They didn't spend the money in 91 and give up land and to widen the project and pay money for it. I don't think it's quite fair for the fellow that just moved into the south side of O'Fallon, who wants a nice little quaint area to walk his dog and sip his latte, to be putting people out of business in North O'Fallon, okay? And that's why I did it for those 2 wards. The other reason I did it, O'Fallon even knows that their wards are divided that way. That's why 70 is the divider line, okay? And you have Ward 1 on one side of Main Street, and you have Ward 5 on the other side. So the natural divisions of O'Fallon are 70 and Main Street. Those 2 wards are the folks north of that, okay? And I think very clearly you can see the division because the fact that all the councilmen north of 70 voted against it, okay? So I thought also trying to minimize the cost to O'Fallon. If they want to change this, they can change it. They have April election for those aldermen. They can throw it on there with the aldermen. I can tell you that one of the aldermen told me that they voted against this because residents hated it, and they figured they never had a chance in heck to get reelected had they support the project.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to step out of your comfort zone for a second and tell me why the guys on the south side like this project then. And as you've described it so far, there's been, I agree with you, there's no reason to narrow it down. So tell me not from your perspective, but from the perspective of the Southsiders, why do they think that narrowing this down is a good idea?
I was at virtually every focus group meeting, both as a council representative and an affected business owner in downtown. I sent this amendment out, and prospective amendment, to every council member in the city of O'Fallon. Okay, the mayor actually talked to the council members about it. I never got one inquiry about this from anyone's south or south of 70. I think, and Mayor Hennessy actually told me when I offered to send the amendment to him, he says, let me talk to them because I don't think they know what's going on about it. You heard from an alderman that represents that district that says, do we know anything about what's going on Main Street? Even he represents that area and didn't know. It's a classic example, and we see it too in county government, is staff doing stuff and not letting elected officials know. And if you want to know the truth of the matter, I think most of the aldermen, or council members, I should say, south of 70 in O'Fallon don't know the whole situation of this. And I think most of them don't realize the situation back in 91 and 03. Okay?
You do understand my concern about
Sure.
taking action here that really should be, I believe, decided at the city level.
And I wanted to be real clear with the amendment, but the amendment isn't telling what O'Fallon, how to or not to block Main Street down to 2 lanes. Even though I also tell you, as a resident of St.
Well, wait a minute now, because
it's making the decision in the hands of the voters. Okay.
All right.
The other
But
thing,
only some of the voters.
The other thing is, I think it's important to understand that I've driven Main Street of O'Fallon every day for 40 years. And I'm from St. Paul, not part of O'Fallon. I represent a lot of people up that way in St. Paul, Josephville, et cetera. And I can tell you, those folks, even though they have no say in this matter, they will be extremely inconvenienced when they try to get to I-70 to go to work, and O'Fallon's 2 lanes, okay, through that section of road. Because if you're heading down Highway P from St. Paul or Josephville, and you want to get to 70, and you're hitting 2 lanes, when O'Fallon has a water main break now, the one gentleman mentioned about the fact that we've had a lot of water problems, which are horrible, and they have to block off Main Street to 2 lanes, it backs up for miles. It's that bad. I can't see, and when I've told people about this, they're like, really they're going to do that? And I mean, it's inconceivable to most O'Fallon residents that they would ever consider blocking the traffic flow down. If anything, you want to develop alternative routes like this bill would really allow and do that, but to develop the alternative routes and spend $12 million and then cut down the arterial just because some people think that we need more bicycle lanes and more pedestrian lanes on Main Street, I think that's bad thinking.
What does Mayor Hennessy think that needs to happen here? Just, I mean, he needs
Well, I mean, don't you
the
think,
one
though-
elected guy that's supposed to represent the whole city, so
I asked Mayor Hennessy for his direct opinion. He said he'd bring it to the board, okay? He said the board did not like the amendment, okay? But he also told, when I was told by one of the council members, it split just the way the original vote did. 4 for the north side, 6 for the south side, okay?
Okay, Steve, did you want to make a comment, or you want Mr. Greifus to come up here for some questions?
Yeah, I have some comments. Let me first of all say what a difference 2 weeks makes. We first read this thing 2 weeks ago, and there was really no comment about it. And I understand that this all just came to light in the last 5, 6, 8 days with that article that was in the newspaper. Let me say, first of all, I don't blame any of the people on North Main and O'Fallon for being concerned about this. They had a real scare back in 2001, 2003. I was a critic of TIF, so obviously I was on their side during that period. So I understand why they're very concerned. What they're concerned about is something called road diet, of all terms. And I guess this is the latest thing that they talk about in the universities or whatever. But they talk about a road diet, and they take a 4-lane road and narrow it down into 2 lanes and then make it pretty and have sidewalks and bike paths and everything else. Now, we did a little research today, and I asked John, I said, where does this work? And he says it works on a street that has 10 to 15,000 cars per day. We called East-West Gateway and found out about the Great Streets Project on Natural Bridge over by UMSL. I asked them, well, what is there per day? It's 16,000. Okay, so they're kind of pushing the upper limit on it. Downtown O'Fallon is $25,000 per day.
25,000 cars.
What'd I say?
dollars.
25,000 cars per day. Okay, so I mean, if this would not be a wise decision for them to make. And what I have, when I talked to the mayor today, I basically told him that as far as I was concerned, the road board is not in the business of spending money to decrease capacity. We're interested in increasing capacity, and we're interested in safety. And I basically let him know that, that I thought this would be a very bad decision for them to make. And if they make it, don't come to us asking us to help, decrease the capacity of a very important arterial in St. Charles County. So what we have here is a situation where they're supposedly studying it. Some are convinced they've already made up their mind. The mayor has told me they haven't. I understand Mr. Cronin's concern. I think he's done well by his constituents by raising this and making it an issue and offering his amendment. But what we had here is a situation where we negotiated this with the city a month ago, probably a month ago. And we were under a time constraint then because if we don't get going on this thing, we're going to lose a lot of federal funds. This was not part of the discussion. If I had known about it, we could have made it part of the discussion. I basically, the agreement in front of you has some things in it that I don't like. It also has some things that Mayor Hennessy didn't like. And obviously, 4 of his 10 people didn't like it enough that they voted against it. So I'm telling you that having negotiated that in good faith with the mayor, I am here to ask you to support it. I think that we will have an opportunity to exercise some discretion if they ever come to us and ask us for a project like this. Based upon what the mayor said at those negotiations, the city doesn't have money to do this on their own. So they got to go to MoDOT and they got to go to us. Well, we know that MoDOT doesn't have any money. So if they come to us, that's our opportunity to look at exactly what they're doing. I'm sure Mr. Cronin will weigh in, and I think that's when we need to address this issue. I don't think we should hold this project hostage so that we can get our way on something that may or may not come our way later on. About 27, and I know Mr. Cronin has a good point. It doesn't make a lot of sense to improve the exit there at 70 for the people going north if you're going to then restrict it. Well, the projections are that 27% of the people that get off there will go north. 73% will go south on K. So, you know, when you weigh the two, and even if it's a question on the people going north, it's obviously something I think we need for the people who want to go south. I think that last time we had this tax on the ballot, it got 78%. I think one of the reasons it got 78% is the people saw that the money was being used on projects. As far as I know, we have never used a project to try to gain leverage on something other in the city, and I don't think that we should do it now. I think we will have opportunities to have leverage on this issue, should it in fact materialize.
Okay, I got a couple questions too. For John, maybe. I'm a little concerned if the county's spending $6 million, is that right, John, or is it 12 million? Which is it, Joe?
It's 12. It's 6 million this appropriated this year in the first part in fiscal 15, and then another 6 million after it's 12.
Well, a couple points. Mike, you make a point that it's not the county's, you know, our business to weigh in our opinion on roads. Well, I disagree with that because it's the county, it's everyone's money. It's the county taxpayers' money, so therefore it is. And also, the roads are shared by everybody in the county. It's not, O'Fallon's not fenced off in a little fence. You know, it's part of the whole county. So these are the bigger picture items that we are involved in, we should weigh in. And so it is, if they're asking us for this money, then we need to weigh the pros and cons. That's what we do every day at the meetings. So my question to you is, John, is since when did the county spend tax dollars on bike paths and shrubs and planters and when it's road board money? Am I missing something here?
Yeah, I think there's I think one of the fundamental issues that we're dealing with tonight is there's 2 projects. And what I heard from the public speakers is that the downtown business community liked the interchange project. They support the one-way outer road project. What they don't support is a potential future project that will narrow Main Street and provide bike paths and planters and sidewalks. So we're dealing with 2 separate projects.
But if that's $6 million and another 6, is the county money going into narrowing the road?
No, and I will, not to correct Councilman Cronin, because he's got his numbers pretty correct, but the county's contribution on this project is $6,250,000. That's shown on the section 1 of the contract. This overall job of the one-way outer roads between T.R. Hughes and Route K and improvements at the Route K interchange is a $16 million project. The county's contributing $6,250,000. Councilman Cronin mentioned O'Fallon has $1.2 million in cash out of hand into the project. The rest of this job is being funded with money from MoDOT, which we all heard that MoDOT has no money. This is money that we applied for years ago, and we've been hanging on to. We secured additional money through the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program, and we secured additional money through East-West Gateway. So we have put together this pot of money to get us up to 16 million, and that's my biggest concern about this. If we continue to fumble this ball, the feds and MoDOT aren't going to be patient with us, and this whole project could fall apart. I know there's concern that, well, maybe if it goes back to O'Fallon, their board will pass it. Well, what if they don't? At what point does MoDOT and the feds say, we've had enough dealing with you guys? We're broke. We need this money back to build and improve other projects. So there's two projects here, and I think that's really the stretch that I think I'm asking this council to think about is, do we want to risk losing improvements at the Route K interchange because of a project that is widely disliked that may or may not occur someday in the future?
Well, why would we, on Mr. Cronin's amendment, or what is this, Joe, an amendment, or what is it?
It's an amendment, but I've got some questions for
But
John,
hold
too.
on, what, okay, so this amendment, how would this affect the actual, on this amendment, how would it affect the actual monies for the actual road improvements that we're speaking of?
Because the contract has already, this contract has already been approved by the O'Fallon Council. So if this goes back with this amendment on them, they're going to have to take it back to that council, and that council is going to have to pass it. What we heard last week from the mayor is that when he talked to their council, they said they would not support this amendment. So then we have no contract between the city and the county for this project, and the state and the feds are going to say, when are these local bozos going to get their act together and get their money to the table? And that's exactly what ended up happening at the St. Peter's project. We had money in hand to improve the Cave Springs interchange, and the St. Peter's Board of Aldermen was pressured by some local businessmen, and they didn't move forward. And we lost that money. We had $8 million in federal funds that just were taken away from us. Joe, you've put a lot of time into this one-way outer road project. I have. I think a lot of other folks have. That's my concern, is that if we continue to fumble this ball and we try to use this project as leverage for a future project that may or may not happen, we may lose this project. And 73% of the traffic, the people that are using this are heading south onto K. And if this project doesn't go forward now, can we wait another 5 years or 10 years or whenever MoDOT has enough money to do this project on their own? I just don't think we can. We got a lot of folks that are stuck on I-70 trying to head home every night through the Route K interchange. We have an opportunity to fix it.
When you say that, that doesn't make a lot of sense. You're saying people are stuck on Highway 70, and so you're going to funnel it down on Main Street.
You're misunderstanding. They're not funneling anything down.
Right.
The potential, the project,
No,
Mr. Cronin?
We're talking about, just if you listen to him, just two projects.
Two
The
projects.
interchange itself and the service road.
And the
Maybe I-
interchange
maybe
is
I-
the only one that's been approved right now, correct?
Correct.
This narrowing may or may not be approved, and as of right now, this narrowing is not approved from what I'm understanding. Is that?
Correct.
All right. So the interchange is approved, but the other stuff that you're concerned about and that the business owners are concerned about hasn't been approved by anyone yet, from what I'm understanding. Right. Okay.
Correct.
So we're risking losing all this funding to fix the interchange over something that may not ever happen. And from what Steve, if I'm understanding you correctly, if they do decide to do that, they're going to have to come back to us for funding, and we can kill that idea then. Or, I'm sorry, we can weigh in on that idea then.
We will
Sorry.
address it, we will address it objectively like we do all road board applications.
Thank you
But
for
I'm just
helping me
telling
put my
you
words together more
own-
effectively.
My own personal belief is the people didn't support this tax to make roads, to decrease the capacity of roads. They passed it so we can increase, or at the very least, make safety improvements and keep them the same.
Okay, so one more comment, Joe, and then I'll so what you're saying is, I want to make sure this is absolutely 100% clear. The project that we're voting on tonight has 100% nothing to do with narrowing down Main Street. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Doesn't cost much money to narrow a street. It costs a lot of money to make it wide, okay? They don't need county money, they don't need MoDOT money to narrow that street. They need 4 planners and a striper machine, okay? That won't take much. The other thing is, there's a lot of problems with this agreement while we're at it, okay? One thing is the dollar figures, okay? The second thing, $16 million project, according to, I think there's a lot of legal issues with this too that you might want to know about too. This thing wasn't presented to the road board.
To the road, to the what?
This is not part of the transportation improvement plan that we just passed in 15. If you look at the first part of this ordinance, and you see where it refers to, pardon me, I have too many pieces of papers over here, but if you see where it refers to a specific page of the TIP plan, it refers to item 59. There is no 59, it goes to 54. Whether or not to spend $16 million on this project, whether or not to spend $6 million of county money, never went to the road board, folks. In 14, they approved $1 million for design work. The folks that are actually paid to wisely use our transportation dollars never saw it. It's not in the book, okay? The actual ordinance itself refers to and by golly, if you could pull it up, it'd be handy on there for me. The actual verbiage of the ordinance refers to page, I'm sorry, I've got too much stuff here. It actually refers to a specific section. Pardon me a second, I'll find it here.
While he's looking for that, is that true, John, this never went through the road board?
That is not. It went through the road board. It's actually in the TIP document. I do see on the face of the ordinance what he's talking about, item number 59. I'm not
Plan
sure.
number 59, the book goes to Plan 54, okay?
Right, so
I'm
the-
sorry, but it's, you know.
The tip that was presented in November, everybody will, I think, kind of remember this is the first time we did one of these larger books and it had all the background and support. Within that, which the council approved and what's been also incorporated into the budget, was the I-70 project for Route K. It was presented to the road board on August 14th, 2014. They recommended funding of $6,296,303. This contract provides $2,650,000 or $46,000 less than the road board recommendation. So, and it was presented back in 2014 to the road board. They made a recommendation. It was included in the TIP document. One thing I think that's important for this, if we're looking for future leverage, what is in the budget currently, if you look under the, and I brought a copy of it from the budget book, for this project, there's an estimate of $2.5 million for I-70 in the budget. And so that's what's been appropriated for this project, which is enough money for design. It's actually more than what we need for the design. So coming in November and December, when we come back to the council for appropriating the construction funds, so the remainder of the county obligation on this contract, it'll give the council an opportunity to either appropriate or not. And under section, I think it's 8 of this contract, 8, the third paragraph says, the county fails to appropriate, the contract terminates. So if we're looking for time for O'Fallon to determine.
What's the date on that you said?
It's in section 8, it's termination, so that should this council decide that they don't want to support this project because by the end of the year we realize that O'Fallon's actually moving in the wrong direction in the view of this council, you can just not appropriate the funds for construction and this contract terminates. It's a standard condition in every one of our road boards contracts is that termination upon failure to appropriate is a clause out for the county. And so all I'm saying is that we approve this contract tonight, it allows us to get the project moving forward, get the design moving forward. If things move in the wrong direction, don't appropriate construction funds next year.
Mr. Cronin.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr.
Hold on,
Chairman.
sorry. Hold on, let Mr. Cronin, what, John? Can you go after him?
Let him have his say.
Okay, these plans were finalized for this road project in January of 14, okay? We're talking about a 2-week at the most delay on this project. O'Fallon council members told me they would put this amendment to vote right away, and they'll say yes or no. They've approved the previous agreement anyway, so we can always function, go back to the original agreement. Question for Harold is this, though. In the second whereas of this bill, it says, it refers to Transportation Improvement Plan, item number 59. We ain't got one of those in here, Harold, that we approved. Secondly, is, John, I beg to differ with you on the tip plans, because I did the research and pulled them back. Between 13 and 15, there was $1 million appropriated for this, and there's nothing appropriated for it in the current tip plan. So I'm saying that besides not giving the full Fallon voters a chance to weigh in this, the road board hasn't had a chance to fully weigh in on the project either. The other thing is, I want to make a statement about is one last thing is, you've also got an issue, there is a thing in this contract with O'Fallon that I think is pretty important. And this could be bad news for O'Fallon and St. Charles County. It says basically this agreement will automatically terminate due to funding limitations in the announcement of Missouri 325 plan. If you guys remember from back before about the 325 plan, the Missouri Highway and Transportation System Commission's already adopted the 325 plan, and if the 2 cent sales tax that we passed a resolution doesn't pass, it's going to happen. So John, you've got that in page 2 of the agreement with O'Fallon. It terminates the whole thing in 2 weeks anyway. If MoDOT adopts this plan, and by all indications, MoDOT's running out of money, they're going to adopt the plan. You know, a third thing there's a problem with too, if you go by county ordinance, okay, road board projects are supposed to have a 10% match. $16 million project, O'Fallon's putting 1.2. That's not a 10% match. There's another problem with it, okay? And then as far as our abilities, what we're supposed to do and not do as a council, okay? I pulled this off the county website about the road board. It says the county council can, if necessary, modify this plan or approve this plan as submitted. I'm asking for a 1-sentence amendment. I'm not asking for a modification. 1 sentence that keeps O'Fallon from doing something silly. And let's face it, folks, you can go to Winghaven, the boardwalk in Winghaven, it's vacant. You can go to Megan's Crossing, which is vacant. You can see a lot of the projects that they've started that have failed, okay? And I don't want that to happen in my hometown. And that's all I've got to say. You can go with it from there.
Joe, are you asking the council, like tonight, are you asking us to pass this amendment or whatever you want to call it, or are you asking us to give you 2 more weeks to work on it?
Whether with 2 more weeks is time that's going to buy, it's going to go wasted. I don't want to waste those 2 weeks. I understand John's concerns. I'm saying if we pass it with that amendment, okay, it goes back to O'Fallon, okay? If O'Fallon doesn't, I think O'Fallon's playing poker with us, okay? If O'Fallon doesn't pass it with the amendment, we can always go back to the original agreement O'Fallon passed. That would be a question for Harold and Joanne.
I got a question for Harold. Harold, I thought by our charter, doesn't these projects have to go to the road board?
This one did go to the road board.
Okay, where's the, what?
I got the numbers if you want to see them.
John, would you say it again, please?
Yeah, it went to the road board August 14th, and that's when the road board recommended this project, and they recommend the county funding for $6,296,303. Our contract is for $46,000 less. And the actual tip document that was provided, and it's dated here of September 16th, and this actually was Dave Hammond's. We got your copy out of the office today because we couldn't find mine back in the office.
Put that up on the screen, Joe, or I'm totally confused.
Yeah, so go to page 5.
This is 13 to 15 tip plan.
Turn it the other way, Joe.
Okay, for City of O'Fallon, I-70 interchange to Route K. No proposed expenditures, approved expenditures for years 13, years 14, $1 million and 15 for study. Okay, if you go on to
there's the tip, and there it is right there. I-70 Various Lane. There's the 2.5 for the design for this year.
That was a miscellaneous projects.
Right, it's a miscellaneous project because the county, MoDOT, and the city is.
Then we've got John did have one under miscellaneous project for $2.5 million. But when you go back to what we're asking to be referred to approve tonight, it's project number 59, and if you go to the road board transportation program, it goes to 54. There is no 59. We're asking to be approved something that's not in this book.
That concerns me right there, to be honest with you. I mean, unless there's a typo or a mistake or something.
Well, there are, number one, the question that Mr. Cronin is asking relates to a recital, a whereas clause. those are recitals, those are not operating parts of the ordinance. And we're also talking about a Scrivener's error. I think by reading this ordinance in the context of the council's already approved tip and the contents of the tip, I think you can connect this ordinance and the project it authorizes funding for back to the authorized tip without getting hung up on a number 59 in the whereases.
How do we get around the 10%? And that's actually an ordinance. That's section, I'll read it, section 120.820, okay? And 120.830. Municipalities shall provide a match in the amount of at least 10% of the total cost of the project they submit. There's not a 10% match for this. The county executive shall not execute any contract with municipality unless the 10% matching fund requirement has been satisfied, unless the county council waives or reduces the matching requirement by ordinance. Are we going to provide a separate ordinance to waive that 10% match? Because that's what we're doing. with
Well,
this
currently,
ordinance.
right now, I won't support the bill how it's written, so that's where I'm at, because you're bringing up some valid, very valid points. So this council can,
John, answer the 10% question.
I'll answer both those. Can I go back to the tip issue, just so we get that 100% clear? Here's once again, the tip book that Joe provided, and he's correct. It's not listed under O'Fallon, so you got to go through the whole book. But in there, you go see miscellaneous project, I-70, the $2.5 million for the design.
does that go all the way to St. Peter's, John? Is that the whole I-70 thing that we've talked about with the
No,
double?
this is for St. Peter's was killed long before this. So this is the O'Fallon project, and there's the 15.5 in the next year. So the combination of those is actually above and beyond the 16 million that we're saying is available. But at the time the tip was put together, we were providing $18 million for that project. Now this agreement did not go, the 59 I agree is odd. I'm not sure where that came from. That's a typo or how that got in there. And the tip that you provided was 13 to 15. So this is actually the 15 to 17 tip. So I'd have to see what the 59 and the 15 to 17 tip was versus the document that he had provided. The 10% issue is how that's been worked is that the city of O'Fallon have applied for that MoDOT money. And they also applied for STP money, which is now in their control. And if you look on section 3 of the contract under contributions, that's $5 million. So they're providing $5 million in grant money that they secured, plus another $1.2 million out of their tax fund. So they're providing $6.2 million and some change for a $16 million project, well beyond the 10% minimum. So that's.
But the bill says it's the municipality's money. I counter that that's not municipality money. That's federal and state money that they got with grants to spend. That's not their money. I don't think it's one and the same. That'd be for them for legal interpretation. We could table this thing if you want to table this thing and let Steve do some work with Mayor Hennessy about this, but.
Okay, Mr. Hammond. Oh, John, go ahead, and then Dave. Go ahead.
I think that Steve has an agreement with the mayor of O'Fallon. I feel comfortable with what we're doing. I think this is a worthwhile project that needs to be done, and time is an essence, and I'd like to call for the question.
Well, okay, but Dave wanted to say something, and so.
Well, I pretty much agree with you, John. I'm a resident of O'Fallon, and I represent a large portion of O'Fallon. And I am to the south, but I'm really close to the north. But I avoid this area of the city because of the congestion and the problems with the traffic. You know, I go out of my way to get around getting off at Highway K&M and try not to use the highway to the north because of the congestion problems. And I definitely am opposed to narrowing Main Street for sure, but I'd like to see this project move forward and not lose the funding for the city of O'Fallon. Thank you.
Do we, is there any
With that, I
reason?
call the question.
There's no more conversation on
That's what I'm
the,
asking.
I'm going to vote no for it then, because I think.
Second? Second. There's a second.
Okay.
We voting for the amendment, or we voting?
No, we're
for-
voting on calling the question. All those in favor of calling the question, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
How many noes were there? 2. 3?
It would be 3.
Okay, then call the question. No more comments.
I always like conversation.
We're going.
We're going, I mean, the motion passed.
Yeah, the motion passed, so that means we call it to a vote.
Are we going to address that
Oh,
error?
I'm sorry.
Just the amendment.
What do we do?
No,
You'd have to defeat, if Mr. Cronin has offered the substitute. He hasn't offered it?
He never offered
Okay.
it.
All right.
We have no motion on the table.
He can offer the amendment. He can make an amendment.
You just called the question.
We called the question
The question on
Bill.
on the current bill.
That he proposed.
We've discussed it, so let's vote on it.
Oh, I thought, I
The
didn't,
amendment.
there's never been a motion made, though, on his addendum.
There's not an amendment. That bill is not on the floor right now. The original bill that was introduced 2 weeks ago is on the floor. That's the one we're voting on, the one without the amendment. Correct?
Yes. Correct.
So read the title and call the vote.
Read the title and call the vote. Thanks, John.
Do we question the
said the
error
words you
that was
didn't
in that whereas, where the section was as plan item number 59? Do we need to address that?
Read the title and call the vote.
Okay. An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the city of O'Fallon to improve traffic flow and reduce congestion at the interchange of I-70 and Missouri Route M/K in an amount not to exceed $6,250,000. Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes?
Councilmember Cronin?
No.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
No. The bill, his 4213 has passed. Moving on to, I get my glasses on.
4214.
4214.
Bill number 4214, an ordinance repealing section 126.010 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, fees charged by the Department of Information Systems for services related to issuance of annual data licenses and enacting a new section 126.010 relating to such fees.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4214? Seeing none, go ahead.
An ordinance repealing section 126.010 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, fees charged by the Department of Information Systems for services related to issuance of annual data licenses and enacting a new section 126.010 relating to such fees. Councilmember Klinghammer?
Aye. Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes?
Councilmember Cronin? Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Bill is passed. Moving on to Bill 4215.
Bill number 4215, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute form agreements with school districts in St. Charles County to provide for continued placement of school resource officers at schools in those districts.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4215? Is that Dave? Sure. Has this, are we getting more officers into the schools? Have anybody requested any more, or how's the program going? Give us kind of a
The
recap.
program's going fine. I mean, everybody's a big believer in school resource officers. They're a valued asset. We haven't increased the project. This is just continuing it, going for the
Continuing.
ones we have, correct?
No, it's a good project, yeah, it's very
Yes, sir.
good. Yeah, any questions for Dave? All right, thank you, sir. All
An
right,
or-
Mr.
an order-
Chairman,
yes, Steve?
just a point of information. As far as I know, the only school district in the region that doesn't have school resource officers, Normandy.
Is that right?
Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Well, okay,
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute form agreements with school districts in St. Charles County to provide for continued placement of schools resource officers at schools in those districts. Councilmember White?
Yes?
Councilmember Cronin? Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Bill 4215 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4216.
Bill number 4216, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Missouri Department of Transportation, Traffic, and Highway Safety Division for receipt of a grant of up to $55,000 to purchase a van and equipment for DWI checkpoint activities and amending the 2015 budget adopted by ordinance 14-109 relating to receipt of such funds.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4216? Seeing none?
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Missouri Department of Transportation, Traffic, and Highway Safety Division for receipt of a grant of up to $55,000 to purchase a van and equipment for DWI checkpoint activities and amending the 2015 budget adopted by ordinance 14-109 relating to receipt of said funds. Councilmember Cronin? Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Bill 4216 is passed. Move on to Bill 4217.
Bill number 4217, an ordinance authorizing the county executive and chief of police to execute a memorandum of understanding with Midwest High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, HIDTA, to provide reimbursement to the county to combat drug trafficking activities.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4217? Seeing none?
An ordinance authorizing the county executive and chief of police to execute a memorandum of understanding with Midwest High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, HIDTA, to provide reimbursement to the county to combat drug trafficking activities. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Bill 4217 is passed. Move on to Bill 4218.
Bill number 4218, an ordinance enacting section 250.013 and 250.015 and amending sections 250.020, 250.030, 250.040, 250.050, 250.060, 250.100, 250.220, 250.250, 250.380, 250.400, 250.445, 250.450, 250.460, 250.500, ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO relating to county park regulations.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4218? Seeing none?
An ordinance enacting sections 250.013 and 250.015 and amending sections 250.020, 250.030, 250.040, 250.050, 250.060, 250.100, 250.220, 250.250, 250.380, 250.400, 250.445, 250.450, 250.460, 250.500, ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO relating to county park regulations. Councilmember Hammond.
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel.
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander.
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer.
Yes.
Councilmember White.
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin. And Councilmember Elam.
Yes. That's a lot of numbers, man.
Amen. Amen. I agree.
Nice job.
Bill 4218 is passed. Moving on to table bills. Are there any table bills to be removed from the table? I have one for discussion, Bill 4207. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Steve, I'm going to ask you a couple questions on this. Or I guess this goes to you or Joanne or something. How many boards do we have that you have the ability to appoint one person within the city? Do you know that, or do you want to answer that question? Like, if
We'd
it
have to look it up. I know
but there's multiple
the
boards.
road board.
Road board, the
Don
TIF.
may be able to help. I know the road board, we have to.
No, it is what I asked, because
Remember,
within a board in the city,
The county road board's our board, not a city.
oh, no, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. You've asked this question before, though.
yeah, but we just got busy and we didn't really focus
Yeah,
on this.
yeah.
So I guess without answering the question right now,
Ask me again, make sure I understand it.
well, what we need to know, and you don't have to answer it right now, but I'd like for us to talk about this, is this funding, this hiccup that we have here with this agreement with St. Charles, where there's 10 people on the board, or maybe Mike knows, I don't know how many people are on the board, but what the ordinance is allowing us to do, you to do, is to choose somebody who represents somebody from and you choose that person, and then it gets approved by the mayor and the council.
And St. Charles wants us to give them
They want you
names.
to give you 3 people to choose. Well, my point is, and Michael's or whoever else may be involved in tourism, it's hard enough to get one person that's really interested that could be good at doing this, right? Like you choose, so by giving you 3 nominees, or no, you don't even, you give them 3 nominees. I think it really loses the whole focus of what we're
Well,
trying to do.
I think the best thing might be for me to talk to the city and see if we can just agree on somebody. Wouldn't that make the most sense?
Yeah, but the contract was sent back, and Harold may know this, but they redlined, they said, we want it to be 3 people. It should not be that way. It should be the way that we wrote it to them.
That's fine. And
If I can ask another question, tags onto that. When the city submits somebody to be on our county road board,
They don't.
do they submit one?
They
don't.
They don't have a city representative.
They do. But we
They don't submit the name.
we appoint them.
They don't submit, they don't have a
I think, Councilman,
recommendation.
you're remembering history. In 1995, previously, the cities just submitted, and County Executive Ortworth offered to give them input, but indicated to them that they would need to submit 3 names to him. And if they wouldn't, then he would not choose anyone of their liking. I
that might be
think that's
words.
probably the history.
But in my.
That was a voluntary.
Voluntary.
Was no requirement that you.
Oh, no, if they didn't want to submit names, they didn't have to.
And there was no requirement that he take the 3 that
None.
they submitted.
My perspective with this is totally different because we're affording them the ability to get the state funding.
Well, we just need to negotiate that out. And,
Okay, so we'll just talk about it, but I just wanted to, I didn't know if we got anywhere with this thing. I know it's kind of been sitting on the desk and we haven't really talked about it, so that's why I wanted to know.
I haven't thought about it since you mentioned it last
Yeah.
time.
Mr. Bradley, this falls under the old philosophy that I don't care who you choose as long as I get to do the nominating.
Right. Okay, that's it. Any other bills?
You need to retable that, Joe?
Oh, yes,
A
could we
motion.
please retable Bill 4207?
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, it's retabled. Any announcements or miscellaneous items to be talked about?
Second.
Second, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Aye.
Yeah, see.